Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Amy Rose White, integrative psychotherapist. Welcome to my channel. Let's talk about panic attacks. So for anyone who's had a panic attack, they are no fun. And I'd like to talk about the signs, what causes them briefly, and a 4-step plan for what to do. I'll be making this video in a 2-part series going into the deeper healing from panic attacks after this video, which is really focused on what they are and what to do. So let's dive in. So first of all, you probably are already familiar of the signs of a panic attack, which can be different from person to person, but generally they can include shortness of breath, rapid heartbeat, feeling like your heart is about to come out of your chest, sweating, feeling of trembling or shaking, fear of losing control, dizziness, chest pain, stomach pain, and sometimes nausea. So those are the basic symptoms of a panic attack. They can include some other things. One of the worst things about panic attacks is that the physical signs can easily be interpreted as danger, as something is wrong. So given that, let's talk about some of the physical rule-outs that could be contributing to the physical experience of panic attacks and the things that you probably do want to get checked out by a doctor if you have had more than one in a short period of time, if you feel like you're getting them a lot. One panic attack by itself or generally doesn't indicate an underlying medical condition, but you always want to be sure and have that looked at if there's any possible underlying cause. So one of those, or a few of those, are hypoglycemia, shallow breathing, hyperthyroidism. If the thyroid is over-functioning, you can have lots of symptoms of shortness of breath and anxiety and unexplained weight loss and other things that kind of mimic a panic attack in the moment, and that's treatable. Hormonal changes can cause panic attacks. A lot of women experience them for the first time after having a baby or around the time of the week before their period. Inner ear issues can contribute, as well as post-concussion syndrome. Unfortunately, for a lot of people that have TBIs, that's a contributing cause. Now, caffeine and any kind of stimulant or recreational drug, such as cocaine, meth, ADHD medications that are incorrectly used, all of those will contribute. In fact, people that generally have anxiety and have frequent panic attacks can most often benefit by completely cutting caffeine out of their diet, which isn't something that most people want to hear, but it's really helpful. So that said, none of those conditions are terribly life-threatening, but they can, as well as some other things, they can contribute to the experience of panic. So if in doubt, have one checkup with your doctor to rule that out. Now, one of the worst things about panic attacks is really the fear of having them. Once you've had one, the brain begins a process called conditioning, which basically means that we start to associate that overwhelming, terrible experience with wherever we were, whatever was happening. Perhaps there was a traumatic event, or we just remember that feeling of the panic attack as just being really awful. So we start to want to avoid it. And what's really happening is that the brain is essentially taking those physical symptoms that happen in a panic attack and associating them with danger, interpreting them as danger. Now, your brain is built to warn you when there really is danger in your environment, but once you've had a panic attack, or even the very first one, when you see and experience those physical signs, what's typically the worst thing that can happen, and it's a very normal reaction, is our brain starts to attribute meaning to those signs. And the meaning that our brain interprets is danger. That's what we're attributing, is something is wrong, this is a big deal. Basically, the lizard brain thinks, I'm dying. So that is kind of what we're up against when we have a panic attack, and the strategies we're going to talk about today are directly aimed at helping that lizard brain feel safe and assess what's really happening in the body right now, and basically finding a sense of safety away from that over-interpretation, often misinterpretation of the presence of danger when there simply isn't any. Because in of itself, those signs of a panic attack, they won't kill you. If you're not having a heart attack, which is what most people think when they're having a panic attack, and why it's important to understand the difference. A panic attack resolves. It does not go on and get worse and worse over hours and hours generally. And there's other signs of heart attack that I will talk about in my next video. But for our purposes, if you're watching this, you know that you have panic attacks or you deal with anxiety. So the most important thing is to realize that you're not dying, you are safe. And I believe that one of the main functions of panic and anxiety is to remind you that you have a physical body. And what does that mean? Like, I know I have a physical body. It's right here. It's giving me all sorts of problems. Well, a lot of us that deal with anxiety or panic live in our heads. We live out here. We might fantasize a lot. We might live in dreamland. We might live in the future or the past quite a bit. And we actually get out of our physical body. And for those of us who survived trauma, that is especially true. A lot of us are just walking around on autopilot, disassociated from our physical body. So one of the gifts of having a panic attack, yes, you could see it as a gift. That's a nifty thing in therapy we call reframing. If you want to see panic attack as a gift, and I think you can and should, it is really an invitation to remind yourself that you are in a physical body. And most times that physical body is safe and sound right here in the here and now. It's functioning on some level. And you might say, I have aches and pains, or I have this illness, or actually I have this diagnosis, and that's why I'm having panic attacks. Okay, I hear you, and you still have a physical body that somehow, despite all of that, is engaging in millions of metabolic processes that are actually functioning well enough to keep you still living. And that is some semblance of well-being in the physical body. It just doesn't mean you're in immediate danger. And that's what happens when we have a panic attack. We think, danger, danger, right now. Okay, so here's the 4 steps. This is what I call stop sign for panic. And this is an adaptation from the wonderful book, The Anxiety and Phobia Workbook by Edmund Byrne, which is one of the first workbooks I found in as a young new psychotherapist many years ago. And it has really set the foundation for my treatment with people above and beyond other trainings that I've ever gone. So the Anxiety and Phobia Workbook is something I highly recommend. Now, stop sign for panic, the first step, and I encourage you to actually write this out on a piece of paper, is to visualize or see a printed red stop sign. And that doesn't immediately stop your symptoms, but because the brain has seen stop signs so many times, it has a very visceral association between stopping the negative train of thought that is starting to loop when we have a panic attack. So the first thing that happens is maybe we're sweaty, or maybe our heart starts to race and we start to think, what's wrong? Something's wrong. Maybe I'm having a panic attack. And then the mind takes us for a ride. And that's the ride you do not want to take. That ride is not fun. That ride leads to more suffering. And really, at the end of the day, the worst thing that can happen is you have the panic attack. So if these steps don't stop the panic attack, don't worry. All that needs to happen is the energy moves through your body and the panic attack ends. And you remind yourself that you lived through it and you can endure that and you're not dead. I know that doesn't sound very comforting, but I want you to know that if these steps don't stop or end a panic attack, it's no failure on your part. It simply means that the energy needed to flow through your body in the form of that panic attack so that you can go to the deeper level of healing that is being called to be attended to. Okay, back to the stop sign. So see the red stop sign. Slow your breathing. This is step 2. So when we are breathing rapidly, the brain interprets that as potential cause for alarm. Anyone who's been in a car accident, witnessed something scary, had a traumatic event, knows that your breathing gets really shallow, your adrenaline floods through your body. Soon as those things happen in the body, the brain is basically all like, oh, okay, it's an unconscious process. We got to get out of here. We need to save your life basically right now. So that rapid breath is associated with the body's experience of a true danger, and we need that. But in the case of having a panic attack in your car while you're driving, or at the grocery store, or at family dinner, or at a meeting where you're about to have to speak, your brain is misinterpreting. So if you consciously slow the breath after you see that red stop sign, You keep that breath slow enough, the brain cannot associate slow breathing and I'm about to die at the same time. Those are incompatible experiences. So see the stop sign, slow your breathing, and then say to yourself a positive affirmation, because we're saying negative affirmations that make us feel bad all the time. You might say, yeah, affirmations. Well, any thought you have is an affirmation. So you might as well make it a helpful, self-serving one. So that affirmation would be, this is temporary. Whatever's happening right now is temporary. Slow breath, this is temporary. And then the fourth is the most important piece. It's called counting the threads. Now, counting the threads simply means find a detail in your environment, and it can be the hair on your arms or your moles, if you have a lot of moles in your arms like me, or the lines in your jeans, or the pattern in the curtains, or in the carpet, or the bricks. Wherever you are, just maintain that slow breath and slowly count. Now, you might say, this is really starting to make me sound like a crazy person. First of all, nobody knows, and two, you're not crazy. And you're not going crazy when you have a panic attack. And I think that's another very important affirmation. This is temporary. I'm not going crazy. It's just an energy flow. And it's kind of like that smoke alarm that goes off when you're just cooking in the kitchen and it's steam. It's that misinterpretation. It's a smoke alarm, smoke detector that's gone a little wonky. But it's also a really important messenger for some reason for you. And that's something I'm going to get into video number 2, part 2 of this series on panic, is there is helpful information for us to pay attention to. But for the purposes of when you're in the middle of it, that doesn't matter. What matters is telling yourself you're going to be okay, slowing that breath down, counting the threads, and then getting back to that place of, okay, I am safe in my body. That was sucky, but I'm okay. I can do hard things. I'm all right. Now, the deeper healing, of course, from panic attacks in general and anxiety in general is a really comprehensive treatment program. Usually that includes increasing exercise, watching what you eat and getting lots of high density nutrition into your food that you're eating. Can be toxin elimination, relaxation exercises, trauma resolution, again, getting those caffeine and stimulants out of your diet, exploring deeper self-worth and self-esteem issues that contribute to anxiety, identifying the feelings that might be being repressed that can contribute to panic attacks and anxiety, and learning some cognitive behavioral therapy techniques to really understand what mental stories you're telling yourself that can be contributing to anxiety and panic attacks. That's the deeper healing. Right now we're talking about like, this is the crisis moment, this is the acute situation, how do I feel better? So to summarize, stop sign, slow your breathing, this is temporary, count the threads, count a detail in your environment. I hope this was helpful for you. Thank you so much. When you like, when you share, when you subscribe, it helps the algorithm catch the channel and brings this information to more people and inspires me to keep doing the work. It really does matter when you do those little things, so thank you so much. And until next time, my friends, may you be well. May you be happy. May you be at peace. Bye for now.